you have worked really very hard to make this event a huge success. And once again, I would like to extend my thanks to you all for gracing us with your presence and making this FDP possible. Now, I would also like to thank our host Akanksha Madam and request to please begin with this session. So thank you everyone. Akanksha.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. I would also like to thank all our dignitaries and respected chief guests and guest of honors. Now with this, I would like to invite our first speaker, Professor Dr. Rajiv Srivastava, to start his first session of Faculty Development Program, DARTS 2020, and enlighten us with his knowledge. Please, sir.
Thank you, Akanksha. I am sharing my video, sharing my slide.
So your slides are visible, but you are not audible. Sam, audible to you?
Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for giving me an opportunity to speak in this FDP. My slides are very introductory in nature, just to apprise you, to give an idea of AI, ML, computer vision, and its possible applications. Because when we speak about data analytics, so I will start from artificial intelligence, then we will leading to the various subfields. Because all of us know that what the artificial intelligence is. It is a very long history. It is not a new subject, but in recent year, it has gained a lot of attention of the researchers due to the desired nature of applications, availability of huge amount of data, deriving information from that data, and arriving to certain conclusion. That's why this particular field is being expanded, and interest of researchers are also expanding manifold in various areas. When we speak about data, it may be text data, It may be image or video data. It may be speech data, or any kind of data may be there. It will, again, if we go by data, if we are dealing with text data, text information, text analytics, means we are dealing with text analytics. If we are dealing with image and video data, and we want to understand that particular data, derive some information from that particular data, means broadly we can say we are dealing with understanding part of that particular image or video data, and we are dealing with image or video analytics. Similarly, we can say that for speech and audio analytics may be there. There is also a term that is known as visual analytics that has also gained a lot of interest in recent years. Visual analytics is analyzing. Visual analytics is a tool, it is a paradigm which can be used to visualize the various internal processes of the AI or machine learning flow that is happening while analyzing the data, training that particular data, testing that particular data, or deriving certain information. So data analytics, dealing with data. Visual analytics deals with the analysis of the flows or processes involved into the various steps of the machine learning or deep learning methodologies. So we have to understand them, and everything starts from AI, means we want to understand what is AI. If we say is an area of research which is combination of technologies that enable machines to act with higher levels of intelligence and emulate the human capabilities of sense, comprehend, and act. These are the three last words which are very important from where every research field emanates and where it has to be applied. Means it has three components. At first, you have to sense the data, you have to acquire the data by whatsoever mean is there. Then you have to process that particular data, create a knowledge of that particular data. Then finally, you have to, for acting on that particular data, when that particular data is structured, sense data is structured, analyzed, then if you want to take certain action from that particular data, you want to derive some meaningful information from the data, then your machine learning and expert system comes into picture. Here we can say regarding sense, data can be sensed in any way. For example, some fields of research interest may be computer vision, audio processing. In comprehend part, field of research may be natural language processing, knowledge representation, and all other related fields. And in ACT, machine learning or expert system. It has many possible applications. And since I work in computer vision area, so I will be speaking about this particular image or video analytics part in data analytics. So you can say computer vision can actively perceive the world around them by acquiring and processing images and videos and provide an understanding of the visual data and define the actions to be taken. Here in this following diagram, below diagram, you can see the analogy between human being and a machine. We want to emulate the same thing as a human being can. Here, for example, if I want to understand an image and video, I can, based upon our perception, at first we perceive it, we sense this through our eyes, then we read it in our mind, we organize it, then based upon our past learning experiences, we interpret it. Similarly, in a similar fashion, computer vision processes also works. And it is a very broad area of imaging science, image processing, computer vision, and machine learning. All of these are nowadays interrelated. Without machine learning, without analysis, no field is complete in this current era, because we want to understand the data, we want to predict some information from the data, we want to classify that particular data or any other thing. If we see what are the three components of any computer vision system, if we are dealing with video or image analytics, means we are going to deal with three subcomponents: image processing, image analysis, and image understanding. All these are, you can say, the subjects at UG level, or you can say PG level. Image processing deals with the processing of data, means we want a good quality, noise-free data that has to be used by the further processes for understanding that particular data. So here it may be restoration, enhancement, compression, many other things, even data preparation, format conversion, all those processes may be involved here. Then next part is your image analysis. Here, here in place of image, you can write data. Then depending upon the data, that processes will again apply. Only the kind of algorithm may change, but their nature of processing, their final goal will remain same. Similarly, second component is your image analysis. That is your low-level image analysis, where we are interested in finding out some measurements, some attributes, calculating method. For example, it may be related with segmentation, it may be related with features extraction, and other information, boundary detection, region detection, many other things. And next part is your image understanding. Image understanding is the final part of the computer vision field, where the output is your high-level description. Means you just see a scene, see an image, and tell the information. So here in this field, the input from image analysis and image processing sub-blocks are taken, and we apply AI, machine learning, deep learning based approaches to understand that particular image data, to provide some high-level description and understanding of that particular data. So this is the third part where we are interested in applying these things. If we see what is a common framework of any computer vision or image or video analytics system, so this may be considered as a very generic framework. Here you may have a input images, set of input images, video frames, or you may have database of images, where at first you have to process that particular data in images. Means if it is, these images are not clean, they are not having good attributes highlighted, or some information may be suppressed, or they, whatever the acquired data may be noisy in nature, then you have to apply those kind of image restoration, enhancement, and other format conversion methodologies to prepare that particular data. That may be followed by feature extraction, or that may be directly followed by image segmentation. In image segmentation, we target to extract the region of interest, because we do not want to process all the image data. Because if we suppose in a particular image database, your target is, you have been given, suppose for example 1000 images, and suppose the size of each image is again 1024 into 1024. Then, as you know, that image is nothing but a matrix data, where each matrix element is known as pixel element. Means if you want to process that database that is containing 1000 images, and each image is of size 1024 into 1024, means you have to process how many number of pixels, or how many number of integer data, 1000 into 1024 into 1024. This is a very simple and small example. But when we go into real-time system, you can imagine the amount and quantity of data that is to be processed. So one goal is to reduce the data. Another goal is also to concentrate only those region of interest which requires further analysis. So you can apply various segmentation approaches. Here you may refer to the literature. Various methodologies are available. For example, thresholding based methods, clustering based methods, region based method, contour based methods, graph theoretic based approaches, rough set theory based methods. You name any mathematical paradigm and algorithms are available. Only the objective is that which algorithm is going to perform better. So here the researcher concentrate in finding out or designing the algorithms for extracting the region of interest, means object detection. For example, in an image, there may be multiple objects. You may be interested in those objects only. So how to segment those objects. Nowadays, we are also talking about not only segmentation, we are talking about salient object detection, salient segmentation, semantic segmentation, meaningful segmentation. Salient means prime object. In a particular image or scene, there may be multiple objects. All objects may not be of our interest. We may be targeting only to one object. So which one is the prime? Which one is the salient? The salient object detection methods are being developed to identify those particular objects, which is simplifying our task. The segmentation, image segmentation, general, semantic image segmentation is another field. Then the other related field is your salient object detection. The goal of each and every methodology is to find out the prime objects of interest, so that we are concentrated in analyzing that particular part. The next goal in data analysis, this is the data analysis part of any computer vision framework. where we are trying to identify the data, clean the data, process the data, and then finding out, then further reducing the dimensionality of the data. For dimensionality reduction, we normally use feature extraction based approaches. Feature extraction based approaches is nothing. We just want to further reduce the dimensionality of the data. For example, after segmentation, you have obtained multiple region of interest in a particular image, or you are just processing the whole image, for example. So rather than processing the whole segmented image or processing the whole image data itself in the whole image database, why we cannot associate with each image data with a important mathematical attribute? It is just like, suppose all of us are human beings and we are identified by our attributes, our color, texture, feature, language. Many attributes are associated to us just to identify us: name, age, place, father's name, mother's name, gender, everything. These are attributes. Similarly, each data, each information may have some unique attribute. So here we think of about mathematical attributes, how each and every object can be differentiated, uniquely differentiated from each other by using simple attributes and less number of features. So these are known as features. So here in feature extraction, various methods are available. For example, if we talk about low-level features, then there are various statistical features or histogram-based features. What we do here, we calculate the mean, variance, kurtosis, and other mathematical attributes of each image data. And if each images are different, each frames are different, video frames are different, then definitely these values will be different. And there will be some specific value. Similarly, if you want to extract the color features, then color features are there. You can convert the RGB image into YUV or HSV or any other space, and you just compute those important color feature. You may be interested in identifying that particular image data by its object in that particular data by its texture. For example, in medical imaging, there may be multiple objects. The human organ, they may be considered as an object, and those, if you want to identify some kind of disease, so sometimes their texture, color, shape, all those features are important, whether they are normal or abnormal. The texture are fine details of surfaces of that particular object. So how to calculate them? They are mathematical methods. Haralick based texture features, Laws energy based texture features. Now we talk about LBP patterns. Many approaches are available into the literature. You have to identify the kind of application that you have in your hand, and then you have to apply the important texture features extraction. Similarly, other kind of features may be your geometric or shape features. You may be interested in finding out interested in extracting the geometry, means what is the area, shape, and orientation, maximum bounding rectangle. Those informations may be calculated. So these informations are mathematically calculated. So here what we do, at first as a scientist, because we have to work with data, we have to work with mathematics, we have to work with algorithm, computer science, etc. We have to just obtain the physical interpretation. We have to understand the physical interpretations of these mathematical methods and all those things, and how they can be connected to our real world problem, so that an analogy may be fit and those informations can be easily extracted. So once we are done with feature extraction, so we are left with very less amount of data. For example, I was giving an example of image database, which consists of 1,000 images. Sir, can you, Himanshu Rajput, can you mute yourself, sir? So that I can continue. Thank you, sir. Then after feature extraction, means suppose we have identified 50 features, and these 50 features may be a combination of histogram-based features, color features, texture features, and other features. So suppose you have identified 50 features, means in place of processing 1024 and 1024 number of pixels, we can define that particular data uniquely by this feature by simply a row vector of size 50 cross 1, that is known as feature vector. Similarly, for all images, all frames in the database, we will be having a feature vector space or feature matrix, where each rows are images, sample frames, and each columns represent the feature. Means here we can see, just after applying the segmentation and after that feature extraction, we have significantly reduced the amount of data to be further processed by applying the various feature extraction techniques. Means initially the size of data was 1000 into 1024 into 1024. Now we have only a data of size 1000 into 50. Means we have only one matrix. This is not feature vector matrix. Then from here, this overall process is known as data analysis part, and this is also known as image analysis system. Once you are done with this feature extraction, I was talking about low-level feature extraction. Then in literature, there are many other feature extraction techniques. For example, principal component analysis, LDA-based analysis, and other, they are used in other applications. For example, principal component analysis is associated with finding the eigenvectors of those matrices. So here, they are commonly useful in your face recognition and all those kind of applications. So once you are done with feature extraction, the other thing is that we are not supposed to extract those features for the same input data set again and again. So we may store them in our computer memory by using some kind of symbolic representation or object representation. So any object can be represented by either its boundary, can be identified by its boundary or region, means inside content or boundary. So for those, we are available with many methodologies. For example, chain codes and other methods are there for boundary-based descriptors, and Fourier descriptors are also there. And for defining the regions, we may use the projections, run length encoding, and other methods. So once we are done with feature extraction part, next part is your conclusion from analysis, or means image understanding part. So here, depending upon our task, we may apply AI and machine learning and other algorithms to identify those information. Here the task may be classification and description, interpretation and description. If it is a classification problem, then what we can do means we have, suppose whatever the input database images we were available with, and we want to classify them into various categories, various classes. Then we may train at first we have to select a kind of machine learning model, because this approach is completely data driven approach. Nowadays we also talk these kind of approaches as a conventional approach, because we are living in a deep learning era where we are going to train each and every system. But also for many small and target based applications, these methods are commonly used, and wherever required they should be used. The next thing is that how to apply the machine learning algorithm, what kind of machine learning algorithms are available to us, and how to train that particular system, how to test that particular system. So all those things are there, and just to derive information from this. This is general framework of any computer vision based system, and we can see this AI, ML, data analytics has a wide range of societal applications, starting from healthcare, security and surveillance, agriculture, smart mobility and transportation, smart cities and infrastructure, education. It may be applied anywhere depending upon our expertise and depending upon the kind of things which we are required. Here, whenever I talk, my only motive is to apprise the learners to go through the basics of fundamental concepts, basic mathematics, algorithm, computer science, and you should be good. You should have also be good in programming skills, so that you can transform your idea, you can see your idea how it is going to be implemented. And for programming skill, you should be good in data structures. Those things are there. And once you are working in a particular field, suppose you say that I have interest in data analytics, AI, ML. At first, you should try to know what is AI, ML, what is data analytics, what is their specific task, what are their applicability, for which kind of data they are applicable. So once we have this kind of knowledge basis, we can easily conceptualize the problem, formulate the solution for that particular problem, and then implement those the solution for that particular problem that can be a deliverable product. So you may be interested in any domain. So these are some kind of examples that have been given. For example, in healthcare, one of the possible applications may be disease prediction from the available data, or classification of image or video data into various categories. In video surveillance, in security and surveillance, some of the possible applications may be related with human activity recognition and behavior analysis, sign language analysis, crowd management, count density estimation, people counting, head counting. Many applications are there depending upon the. Then we also talk about image. There is another interesting application area that is known as image forensics, where we deal with the image and video forensics, where deal with the forgery detection, video tampering. We are trying to find out what kind of forgery has been done, whether this particular image or video has been tampered or not. Then what are the various methodologies which can be used for identification of those. Then another, in smart cities and other things, applications of interest may be automatic path planning and navigation modules, control and planning modules of those autonomous vehicles, and many other 2D, 3D pose estimation for. But these are some representative examples that are there. And as already told you, this computer vision and machine learning, these are the two highly interrelated areas. And we say in this current era, we have a large amount of data, and that has to be analyzed, that has to be classified, predicted, everything. Then we talk about what kind of learning algorithms we have. So normally, if we go to the literature, we find there are supervised learning approaches, unsupervised learning based approaches, then hybrid approaches known as semi-supervised approaches. Nowadays, we are talking about reinforcement learning and deep learning based approaches as well. So you can say, you see with this particular diagram, AI is a superset, the machine learning is a subset of AI, then deep learning you can say also, and these are being evolved with time. And this was the framework that I was discussing. So this is a very common diagram. You can find out this diagram everywhere. This gives a very good example of various possible applications and classification of various machine learning approaches. For example, supervised learning based approaches, we are available with labeled data. If we are available with labeled data, then here the possible task may be classification or regression. In classification, some examples are identity fraud detection, image classification, customer retention, diagnostics. Some examples are these ones. In regression part, advertising popularity prediction, weather forecasting, market forecasting, estimating life expectancy, population growth prediction. In unsupervised learning, means we are dealing with unlabeled data. We are dealing with either clustering based approaches, or you can say dimensionality reduction based approaches, and also they are equally applicable to all the kind of application, but some specific examples include recommender systems, targeted marketing, customer segmentation, big data visualization, meaningful compression, structure discovery, feature elicitation, etc. Then we take about reinforcement learning. And nowadays we talk about these deep learning architectures. So that was the conventional architecture, and also to understand this deep learning architecture, we have to also understand those things, those machine learning based approaches, whether they are supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised based approaches. Many examples are there, or artificial neural network based approaches. But nowadays, with the increase in amount of data, there is a limitation of those traditional algorithms, machine learning algorithms. They fail to perform at certain level of volume of data. If you plot the graph in between x and y axis, suppose on x axis there is a volume of data, and y axis there is performance of various machine learning algorithms. If you plot their performance, or their performance in terms of their accuracy, precision, recall, and all those things, you will observe that these traditional or conventional approaches, they perform better up to certain level because they are data driven approaches. They learn from the available data, whatever the data, and they behave accordingly. That's why we say those conventional machine learning, semi-supervised or unsupervised approaches, their accuracy and performance depend upon the data that they have. And also there are very many biases, errors. That's why we work mostly on the tuning of the parameters and selection of those algorithms, or even we use a combination of algorithms, for example, ensemble classifiers and other methodology we used. But still, if you see the performance, their performance stagnates at certain amount of big data. Then the role of this deep neural networks come into the picture, and the algorithm performance of these deep network based architecture based machine learning techniques increases with increasing amount of data. So we can say a particular point where conventional machine learning approach, performance of conventional machine learning approaches stagnates, it gives better performance. So then you have to see that what kind of application you are working, what kind of data is available to you, what is the volume of data. Then you have to take a certain, it is not a thing that you apply deep learning approaches everywhere. No, there is no need. It is applicable, it should be used where it is required, where your accuracy and everything, because these algorithms are not going to perform better at free of cost. They require extensive amount of computational, they require a computational power, GPUs and other things, time, training time, etc. But no doubt, a lot of researches are going on, and these set of deep network-based architectures are going to replace in future all the kind of methodologies and work that have been reported so far. And some popular algorithms include your convolutional CNN-based network architecture, VGGNet, earlier LSTM, least short-term memory. Many approaches are there, and people also talk about generative adversarial networks and all those things. So there are but I will recommend you to go to these deep learning approaches after acquiring some basic knowledge of machine learning of those particular field that I have discussed. Then you go to this, and do not be a user of this only deep learning based architecture, because nowadays a lot of libraries, a lot of tools are available. Students get the data, they apply to those libraries and get the output. No, this is not the task of a researcher or learner. At initial stage, obviously everybody will try to use them directly, try to learn how they work. Then you should go into the internal architecture. What are the various boxes? What are the various stages? How they work? What could be happening inside? What mathematical operations are going on? What kind of optimizations they are doing? So basically, these architectures are based on some very good mathematical concepts where we should have a very good knowledge of linear algebra, or you can say convex optimization, and all those things to take at the research level. So for a researcher, you should be good in probability and statistics, linear algebra, convex optimization to understand those ideas. If you refer, for example, most of the people use CNN-based architectures. They also know that these are the steps, convolutions are done, pooling, feature pooling, further convolution, then prediction and mapping. These steps are there. But if you refer to the original paper, you will find a very good set of mathematical optimization techniques and all those things. So I'm just giving you a pointer. Try to understand how this is. If you understand if any of these standard methods, then next time you will be able to come up with your own new architecture, which will be used by whole world. Ultimately, it has been suggested by someone. So this is the beauty of these algorithms. So my task is just to motivate you, apprise you about the knowledge. So I have already talked about this supervised learning, and it works for the labeled data, but some example, they can be classified in two categories. They may be already generative methods. They may be based on generative models or discriminative models. In generative models, naive-based classification or Bayesian classifiers, artificial neural networks based methods. There are some popular ones. In discriminative models, some examples of these machine learning they include your support vector machines, LDAs, linear discriminant analysis, etc. So we should go and try to understand. If you go by its name, generative model means it is generating something, means it is predicting something. Based on the past information, we predict something. For example, naive-Bayes classifier use the concept of Bayesian probability, Bayesian theorem, where we have some prior probabilities of some events or some information, and we want to predict its posterior probability, or you can say likelihood of that particular event based on the past events. So these are the algorithms which are similarly artificial neural networks. If you again go to that their internal architecture, so those things are there. Even you can say that this deep neural network architectures are, you can say, extension of this this your backpropagation artificial neural networks. These are basically shallow networks. Only 1, 2, 3 stages are there. But deep neural networks have many. Similarly, discriminative models means based on the concept of discrimination. Means what is objective? Objective is classification. Means suppose we have a large amount of data and we want to put them into various classes, various groups. So how they can be put into various groups or classes? Means all elements possessing similar property may be put into same group. All other elements having other kind of similar properties will be pushed into another group. Means we want to have some kind of cluster. We want to have some kind of class. So how we can do this? So these are based on some kind of similarity criteria. So here the similarity criteria is because if you go into the mathematics of support vector machine, they are based on the concept of optimization algorithm, which is based on the concept of maximization. Means it is also known as maximum margin classifier. Means there is a suppose there is a 2-class problem. There is a 100 data. Suppose you have a certain amount of data and you want to put into 2 categories or 2 classes. So then we define a hyperplane and we want that one kind of data should come out to the left side, another kind of data should come to the right side. So these are the methods that can, but they have also their own limitations. Experts may not be available, and they may be boring, and that's why to use unsupervised. In unsupervised learning-based approach, commonly used methods are k-means, Gaussian mixture model, fuzzy means, c-means. These are the methods which are available, but also they have their own limitations. Cluster generated by unsupervised learners might not adhere with real-world clustering, and real-world problems are often subjective. So here we talk.
How normal result आया dear candidate exam report has been released for December 2020. January, April और July.
Then we have semi-supervised learning-based approaches to come up with, to deal with the limitations and disadvantages associated with supervised or unsupervised approaches. As it is suggested by its name, that is, it is a combination of these 2 kind of methods. And based on the past input, the results can be refined and you will get ultimately more better result after few iterations. And this semi-supervised learning based approaches works for mix of data where you have some kind of labeled data or you may have also unlabeled data. You can see that this is supervised learning based approach where this is green boundary, where we have clearly classified these 2 objects into large and small groups. But in semi-supervised, we have some labeled data as well as we have some unlabeled data. So here we are using those kind of mix of algorithms, semi-supervised approaches, and they are much more powerful algorithms in comparison to supervised and unsupervised based approaches, and they can work even for the situation where we have little amount of labeled data. For example, in medical imaging domain, all the medical images may not be annotated. Ground truth images may not be available to us. In those situations, how to use these kind of algorithm for designing some kind of computer-aided diagnostic system for disease prediction, etc. Then we can have some mix of data and we can train them and we can get the good result. So various semi-supervised learning-based approaches available into the literature include constraint clustering, distance metric learning, manifold-based learning, and sparsity-based learning, and active learning. And some possible applications where you can apply these machine learning language. One is your automatic detection of diseases from images. This is a conventional approach: pre-processing, segmentation, feature extraction, feature selection, then classification. This is any conventional machine learning approach for designing any tool where we want to classify some image database. And these are some steps that have been shown for a example. For example, design and development of a computer-aided diagnostic system for cancer detection from mammograms or any other. So here we can see this flow chart. First step is pre-processing. We want to pre-process that particular image data. Then here we have to understand what kind of image data which are available to us and what kind of image restoration and enhancement algorithms are applicable to them. Then we have to apply them. Then we have to apply some kind of segmentation approaches to extract those regions of interest. Then here in mammograms for breast cancer classification, we have to also study the features of those objects which can give you information that yes, this is normal, this is abnormal. So normally, the many features that include related with cancer detection, they are microcalcifications, tumors, architectural distortions, and etc. So we try to find out those features and then we apply certain feature selection method. Then after doing feature extraction, because as of now we want to at first test our model, test our tool, how it is going to perform. So what we can do, we can divide the whole data into two parts, training part and testing part. It is not randomly divided, rather than some statistical approaches are used so that these two set of data contains the representation of each kind of data. So some of the data partitioning approaches, statistical data partitioning approaches include your leave one out, leave M out, or stratified sampling with resubstitution, or tenfold cross validation. Normally, these things are used. Once you have divided the particular data into trained set and test set, then training data is used to, then next thing is your training the machine learning model. Then at first you have to train that particular system, and once it is trained, it has some learned attribute, and based on its training, in next phase, whenever you give some test data, then it classifies, it predicts the information. Or here, for example, it classifies the image data into two parts, normal or abnormal. Normal means no ailment is there. If this is abnormal, means some kind of cancer, then it requires further diagnosis, whether it is benign category or malignant category. Then after that, further follow-up investigation, or it may be referred for further biopsies, etc. So these kind of tools may be designed just to aid the doctors, just to help them, because most of the time experts are not available at every places, and they have their very large amount of data to be interpreted and other things. So these kind of tools may be used. This was some possible application. And another application is your automated abnormality detection for capsule endoscopic images using. So here you can also deal with these video images, and you can also generate develop some kind of machine learning system to predict the disease of the GI tract. So here this is a hybrid approach for abnormality detection for capsule endoscopic images. Here the concept of transfer learning was used because we do not have initially the sufficient amount of data that can be used by this deep learning based approach. So at first we have a pre-trained classifier, and we have some input data that of our domain. We can train it, and then further we can calculate after classification, we can calculate its confidence of prediction. If it is greater than 85% or 90%, whatever threshold you decide, you can say yes, this is the correct result. Or if its confidence interval, or you can say accuracy or performance is below some certain threshold, then you can go with the conventional machine learning approaches by using ensemble classifier to give its output. So here we have used a hybrid approach to produce the output for a particular application where we have a very limited number of video clips and frames. So once you do not have data, then you have to also tune your methodology and other things. So many, then other possible application, as I told you, crowd management. So crowd management basically it is related with crowd analysis. It has various sub-modules: crowd count and density estimation, crowd behavior analysis, crowd flow analysis, crowd congestion analysis, crowd scene understanding. The crowd management consists of many sub-modules. So as a researcher, you will be interested in one or two module, or as an application developer or as a solution developer, you will be interested in whole module. So it will depend in which area you are working. Then as a engineer or as a researcher, you have to concentrate on each of the method. So basically for crowd management, some non-computer vision based approaches are also there, and computer vision based approaches are also there, where we use the video surveillance data for managing crowd. They have their own limitations and advantages. And if we see, this is a general framework for computer vision based crowd management system. This is input and processing, video acquisition, frame pre-processing. Then this is learning module, feature extraction. Then after that, learning algorithm, it may be conventional or deep learning. Then further crowd analysis. Crowd analysis part come here. So that will be abnormal crowd behavior analysis, that is panic, gathering, running, fight, over. Crowd flow analysis, crowd scene understanding, crowd connection, and finally the management module. If you see, the framework remains same, only the methodology and task defined get changed, and you have to concentrate on them. And similarly, if you go for each and every module, this one, each and every module, if you refer to the literature, so for accomplishing these tasks, many research work have been reported into the literature. Then you can go through them and you can see that what is the better approach that suits our this kind of application. In academic research, there are a lot of researches which are going on. But if you want to apply at certain application, it may be industrial application, so it need not do, may be required to always do some innovative research and all those things. You can just find out what kind of methods which are well suited for this application, you can apply them. This here, conventional machine learning approaches, deep learning based approaches, all those kind of approaches, state-of-the-art approaches are available for even for one module, crowd count, density, and estimation. Similarly, deep learning based approaches are available here. Using deep architecture, you have input video, data preparation, pre-processing. Then here deep network architecture. You may, these are some of the possible deep network architecture that have been applied so far for obtaining the solution that is available into the literature. You can study them, you can find out their merit and demerit and their applicability domain, and then you can suitably use them. Then you can give the final output. Then for crowd anomaly detection, many things are there. So these are some example scenes which are showing the normal and as well as abnormal scenes and crowd anomaly we would like to analyze. Then salient object detection and automatic image, there is another possible good application, automatic image captioning or scene analysis. If you refer to this image if you see that as a human being, I am able to perfectly give a meaningful caption or description to this scene. Means as a human being, I can say a person sitting on a bed behind an open laptop computer and cat sitting beside and looking at the laptop screen area, because we are a very highly trained system. But if you go to a computer systems, it may say a cat sitting on top of a bed, because but you can see the system is perfectly correct, but the human uses his or her experience in the world to create a much more detailed caption. So here, for image understanding, for scene analysis, we use the concept of computer vision, natural language processing, both. So here, This is the field where the experts from various fields. For example, you can just see this scene. And suppose I want to give a suitable description, suitable meaningful description in one sentence, what this scene says. As a human being, it's easy for us that yes, there is a woman holding a camera in crowd. But how the machine will work? So for understanding this system, at first we have to caption those objects, means object detection and object captioning has to be done. So for how this object captioning, object detection will be done, means it is a classification problem. Means giving a caption means giving a class, identify some class, some name to a particular unknown image data. Means whole computer vision framework is involved. Means it involves your starting from image enhancement, restoration, segmentation, feature extraction, then further classification of those objects, object detection, then identifying some names, captions, class names to those objects. But nowadays, many good deep learning approaches are there. For example, YOLO version 3 is now there. You look everyone, is a very good object detection technique. They detect the object. But what happens? As a student, you use those libraries and detect the objects easily. But whether you have you thought what is there in those libraries, how they have been coded, how those algorithms are developed. So obviously, all those steps have been followed. So computer vision task is here in this framework is to give captions to these objects. Once you have detected the words, now you will enter into NLP methodologies, natural language processing. Means formation of meaningful sentences from these words. Here, next thing is that generate sentences. So your computer system, based on the grammar and that particular machine translation system, it may provide you some possible description. So some of the description may be a purple camera with a woman holding a camera in a crowd, and similarly a woman holding a kite, like that. But which sentence is most appropriate? Then for them we have to re-rank those sentences, and a particular sentence which have a higher rank that will give its best description. So here you can say in one slide that is a very good example of scene analysis or scene understanding, or providing captioning or giving description to a scene. So these are some possible applications and which can be used. Many other applications are there. You can work into the vision-based path navigation for autonomous vehicles. So here, if you see any working steps of any autonomous vehicle include these 4 modules: sensor, perception, planning, and control. Where as a computer scientist or as a researcher working in this area, our interest lies in perception and planning modules. Because sensor, because it may be electronics, hardware parts, experts from other fields may be involved here in designing those things, providing you the solution. Your role comes after getting input data from this sensor. Then in perception module, what is done? There is a detection module and there is a localization module. What is done in detection module? Some possible module component may be lane detection, traffic light detection and classification, traffic sign detection and classification, object detection and tracking, free space detection, etc. These are detection modules where your computer vision and machine learning based approaches comes into the picture. Then localization module where you have to localize. So this is known as perception module. Another module is your planning module. How to take action, further action has to be taken by the whole system for route planning, prediction, behavior planning, trajectory planning. These are some possible modules. And based on the output of this module, further control is transferred to the machine to take action. If you can see, the experts from various domains are involved in providing one solution. So here, as a computer vision or machine learning researcher or data analytics researcher, you may work on this perception or planning module, and you can devise the algorithms. So you have to identify for what is the problem where I am working. Now these are some descriptions, some challenges are also there, and many other examples are there. if you are interested, you can work in activity recognition by 2D to 3D pose estimation. So these are mathematical models. Here we are using deep learning based approaches for human behavior analysis using pose estimation. So they have also proved to be one of the best problems. So many applications are there where you can work. And with this, I would like to, these are some our research papers published by our research students, and these were basically some part of their research. Some of them were working in some fields. So I have reported those things. And with this, I would like to end this talk. And those who are interested, definitely they may contact me. My information is available on the department page of iitbhu.ac.in. You can log into that. You can go to that particular website and go to the computer science and engineering department faculty profile. You can find out the profile of each and every faculty member, their interest. And if your interest matches with anyone, especially with me, then you can definitely contact me. And then I can further share you the what kind of research interest we share and what kind of problems we are working, what kind of projects we are running, how from which organizations we are associated with, even in private or public, for their research projects and consultancy, etc. So we are always open. And with this, I would like to end my discussion here, and I wish all the best to all of you for a very good FDP, and try to get as far as more knowledge you can acquire, because as Professor J.B. Srivastava initially told, he told a very good word that you may not get everything in short period of time, but you can get